Suddenly the atmosphere gets heavier as the closing of the border ceremony begins. Now this is more like it. Officers seem to be selected on the basis of their facial hair. But facial hair alone is not enough. You also have to gain approval from the Ministry of Silly Walks before being signed up for this job. These strutting peacocks aren't confined to the Indian side of the border. Not to be outdone, the Pakistanis take the evening display every bit as seriously.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there can be joy in borders. There are ceremonies of separation in borders. However, there's also hypocrisy. There is politics involved. Now, I assure you that when we think about borders, that we think of them being opened and closed. As we saw in the last example between the Pakistanis and the Afghans. There is ceremony and celebration of that particular processes. However, in our own country, there are those who have chosen to, how should I say, burden Americans with the concept that our borders are not to be respected by those both foreign and domestic. That our borders are open, that whomsoever, whensoever, however, can come and do what they please. That is not, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of borders. The purpose of borders, ladies and gentlemen, is to cause a separation. A border, in the online etymology dictionary, is a sense of a boundary of a city or country. It's from the late 14th century. From the 14th century onward, as a border, a region, a district lying along the boundary of a country, which replacing the earlier march. Territory, according to the online dictionary, is land under the jurisdiction of a town, state, etc. It is probably from the Latin territorium, meaning land around a town, domain, or district, or from terra, meaning earth or land. God has given us dominion. It is the responsibility of those who have been given dominion to protect it. The unfortunate thing, ladies and gentlemen, is sometimes depending on which side of the fence we're on at the certain time of the fence that we're on, and I mean that not as a pun of borders, but nevertheless, sometimes we choose to create trial and tribulation when there should merely be celebration and ceremony of justice.
We want people coming in to our country based on merit and based on the fact that they are going to love our country and they respect our people in our country. For decades, open borders have allowed drugs and gangs to pour into our most vulnerable communities. Most tragically, they have caused the loss of many innocent lives.
We are a nation of immigrants, and we should all be proud of it. But we're also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws.
Not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before.
Families who enter our country the right way and play by the rules watch others flout the rules.
People who enter the United States without our permission are illegal aliens, and illegal aliens should not be treated the same as people who entered the U.S. legally.
And because we live in an age where terrorists are challenging our borders, we cannot allow people to pour into the U.S. undetected, undocumented, and unchecked.
We've got to do several things, and I am, adamantly against illegal immigrants. Certainly, we've got to do more at our borders, and people have to stop employing illegal immigrants.
And we're working to make sure that we have sufficient facilities to detain, house, and process them appropriately. And it is unlikely that their children will be able to stay. And I've asked parents across Central America not to put their children in harm's way.
The president's decision to end DACA was heartless and it was brainless. Hundreds of thousands of families will be ripped apart.
Meanwhile, what's happening to families at the border is horrific. This is a moral and humanitarian crisis.
That's the Democrats' law. We can change it tonight. We can change it right now. I will leave here. No.
They're telling us that the single most grave threat to America is a bunch of poor, impoverished, broke, hungry refugees 1,000 miles away. They're even using our brave troops, sending them down as a political stunt.
The Department of Homeland Security says there's been more than a 200% spike in illegal border crossings over the past year, and a 37% jump from last month to this month.
For the first time, an American president is taking a very firm line. Good. That's what's needed. Whole populations are on the move. Invasions, frankly, have to be stopped.
It's amazing how we change our opinions based on our politics. The truth of the matter is that the politics is based on elections. And the politics of our country is based on the fact that even though the Democrats outnumber the Republicans, the truth of the matter is that they only outnumber them in the major cities, and the Electoral College prevents them from turning this great republic into a democracy. The Democrats recently have focused on increasing illegal migration into our country. They have focused on reducing the age of voters. How is that? For the purposes of dictating elections, overwhelming group of individuals to vote a certain way. In addition to that, there is a move across the nation, in addition to the increase of illegal migrants into our country, the push to lower the age of voters. There's also a sincere interest to allow individuals who come into the country illegally to vote in elections. 22 million Americans, it is estimate, 22 million individuals in America, it is estimated, are here illegally. If given the opportunity to vote, those individuals will have a direct bearing upon our Constitution. And upon our Constitution, we will surely be changed from a nation under one rule of law into a nation under a multitude of laws, built on the politics of interpretation. Is there a crisis regarding immigration? Well, it depends sometimes on the politics of the matter. God assures us that there should be borders. There's a border between the Garden of Eden and the rest of the world. There's a border between heaven and earth. There's a border between the nation of Israel and the rest of the nations of the world. God has borders, and they're there for a reason. They are to be respected, both foreign and domestic. When the nation of heaven had a rebel named Lucifer, God tossed him out upon the earth. You see, Lucifer didn't respect the border and the holiness of God. And in fact, when you think of the term holy, holy refers to one that is whole, uninjured. The primary pre-Christian meaning is not possible to determine, but probably it was that must be preserved whole or intact, that cannot be transgressed or violated. And I want to repeat that to you once more. That must be preserved whole or intact, that cannot be transgressed or violated. Many people would say, Ken, that is quite abusive that you're talking about politics during your biblical studies. Well, politics are involved in everything. Even heaven had politics where Lucifer rebelled, and God ordained that person to be thrown out, cast out, because of the violation of keeping heaven intact. We have one nation under God. We have one constitution. We have a responsibility to protect our borders. God allows us to protect our borders. They should be respected, both foreign and domestic. However, there are those who say that any crisis that's been created in our nation is one that is manufactured. That wasn't always the case. The President of the United States has been in office for 2 years, President Donald John Trump. Yet 4 years ago, under the Obama administration, there were those who were reporting that there was an unmanufactured crisis regarding illegal migration into our country. At this end of the record, I encourage you to go to TheExceptionalConservativeshow.com or to our Facebook page, An American Conservative's Exploration of the Inspired Word of God, to watch the remainder of this particular program. For all others, please take a look